Facebook groups aren't inherently valuable just because they have a bunch of people in them.
If a kid in his basement, in his underwear with Cheeto stains on the front of his white shirt can make $1 million burping and farting while he plays video games, I can do this. Don't talk about you. Nobody cares who you are.
What's up, REVB Podcast? Katie and I are back today with Kristina Smallhorn. And if you don't know who Kristina is, I met Kristina 2017, 16, something like that. And since then, Kristina has gone on to build the most successful real estate channel on YouTube that I've seen, that I know of, and is absolutely crushing it. So super excited to have Kristina on today. Kristina, how's it going?
Good. Yeah, it was like 100 years ago, you know?
It feels like 100 years ago.
I'm going to say this forever and ever and ever. You used to have a very cool Facebook group that has died on the vine. And I get on your butt all the time about it because it was fun. It was a fun group and everybody disappeared.
I think that it died about the same time that Tim stopped making content.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
It's the pandemic. As soon as the pandemic started, nobody needed to make those cool, funny listing videos anymore, or they needed advice on them. And that was it. They were like, oh, I don't have to do all this anymore. And then they backed out. And I'm like, oh, that's so sad. So sad.
Well, that's an interesting point because I think people look at Facebook groups and they're like, oh, my friend's got a Facebook group with 10,000 people in it. Or I talk to people who are going to buy a Facebook group, right? Because it's got a bunch of members in it and people are selling it. And like Facebook groups aren't inherently valuable just because they have a bunch of people in them. Like the effort of constantly keeping the group engaged and constantly keeping that engagement going, because you run a very successful Facebook group. Like it's not an easy, it takes a lot of effort. And I think for us, the real transition was in 2020 and that just took up a ton of my time and attention. And then, the Facebook group died. And it was just such a good crew. Maybe we'll bring it back.
You can resuscitate it.
There was also some correlation to my point of Tim stopped making content.
No, but I was slower on content.
Yeah, he didn't put that much out there. It was like everybody else fed that YouTube, that group machine, He was always making commentary and helping people. Yeah. But I don't even remember that many videos that you made that you ever posted in there.
Here we go. We are starting this off with a bang.
All right.
Ready to go.
I was just going to say though that I know groups are very difficult, right? Yeah. I know that they are, but agents can still put them together. It's not too late to have a good, successful group. But I know as well as that you have to, if you're going to run a group, you have to maintain it. You can't set it and forget it. I have very active members, but I think I have very active members because I'm constantly posting in there questions for them, engagement for them to get them involved. So they're not afraid to post. I know there's a ton of people that are in groups that are just lurkers. They never engage with any of the posts, but boy, they watch it all. Cause sometimes you get a phone call and they're like, did you see that? So I think that's the whole success for a Facebook group, whether it's with real estate agents or not.
And I think we'll obviously our conversation today is going to be mostly YouTube, but there is a big correlation in growing a Facebook group and YouTube. Like it's never a bad time to start one. You can growing organically, I think is the best way. You grow organically by really taking care of the audience that's in that Facebook group. And it's never a bad time to start one. But it is work to keep it going for sure.
And you know what? That is the same success that you have on YouTube. Find out what your niche is, figure out who your audience is, make content for that specific audience. And sure enough, what do you know? You have success.
Well, Kristina, I have stalked your journey for years. But Katie, I think you've kind of discovered Kristina a little bit more recently than I have. And so Kristina, for our audience and people who don't know you, kind of give us that origin story of what made you start a YouTube channel and kind of how you got to where you're at now?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, so I started recording videos, just goofy videos. I heard a little angry man named Gary Vaynerchuk talk about how video was going to take over marketing. And I was like, okay, well, I'm an idiot. I can pick up a camera. And so I just didn't want to make the same old boring videos as all the other real estate agents. I was watching them and they were doing like slideshows of listing videos with, I mean, it was just ridiculous with this flowery music. And I'm like, they're just the MLS pictures that are just flipping by. This makes no sense. And then he also said doing something like this digital mayor thing. By the way, that's not successful. Was not for me anyway. But I was like, okay, well, how can I do this and put my own spin on it? Because I'm goofy and I don't care. I can make an idiot out of myself. So that's when I started doing these like really bizarre, like listing videos, you know, of like, I just do all these like almost character sketches of the house itself. So the house was the focal point of the story of these, you know, 3-4 minute videos. And a few times I went viral on Facebook. Well, not too long after that, like maybe a year and a half, 2 years later, all Facebook groups became a pay-to-play platform. And you couldn't really grow organically like you could prior to that pay-to-play. And so it was like, you know, going from 30,000 views on a video, you know, within a week to getting 100 views. And I'm like, there has to be a better way. And that's when I found Gary Vaynerchuk, and I was like, well, how do I do YouTube? Like, I had no idea. And I started like posting those videos that I had on Facebook that, you know, of course they didn't get any traction. And then I realized, well, at that time, everybody was saying, oh, SEO and all this other stuff and keywords and you got to do this. And I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. And I started making educational videos. And so many people were like, you are wasting so much time doing this on YouTube. You can't grow an audience there. You can't grow business there. That's just a place you house videos. And I'm like, dude, if a kid in his basement in his underwear with Cheeto stains on the front of his white shirt can make $1 million burping and farting while he plays video games, I can do this with some real estate content. I'm going to figure this crap out. And so it took a little while. You know, I was having success. I wouldn't have continued doing it. I was like my 6th video in, I got a call from some guy in Utah, and he was like, hey, saw that you made these videos about Ascension Parish. Ooh! I saw you were making these videos about Ascension Parish. And you said, anybody that's that into that small town in Louisiana, I'm going to give you a call. It ended up being like the biggest sale I had at that time. And I was like, hell yeah. So there was something to it. So I just kept, you know, feeding the machine, trying to figure it out on my own. But it wasn't until like 2019 that I really got my groove on. So,
well, and so I think one of the things that I always talk about when referencing you, other than the success that you've seen on YouTube, is how specific you've gotten with your client avatar, right? And so I'd like to dig into that a little bit, because I think everyone's kind of started with that, of like the YouTube channel where it's just like you dump every single video in, and it's like you have your family videos and your property tours and your digital mayor stuff and like all of the things, like Tim, you know, your vlogs at Disney and stuff like that. So talk to us a little bit about like how you kind of got to what your client avatar is today and how specific it is too, because I think people don't realize how specific you are.
Right. So back in 2019, I had won a video creation contest, and I ended up getting a free consultation with the great Daryl Eves. If anybody doesn't know who that is, he represents the largest channels, and he coaches the largest channels that you see on YouTube. He also is one of the executive producers of the show, The Chosen. Have you guys ever heard of that? The Chosen? Anyways, guy's humongous. He's a genius. And I had this 1-hour consultation with him, and he told me, he's like, you have a lot of great stuff here. You have a lot of good elements, but you're all over the place. You have like spaghetti against the wall method. And I'm like, yeah, I know. He's like, this is what I want you to do. And just tell me if this works for you, and we'll talk some more after this. So I went through and watched that video that he and I spoke about, and I did exactly what he said. Word for word, every little step along the way, put the video out to the universe, because I'm like, this is the YouTube genius. And I was waiting for, you know, those millions of views to pop in immediately. And it did not happen for me that way. I would like right away, but it did after 21 days. And finally, the algorithm figured it out. And that's when I talked to him again, and he said, now look, so you know that your audience wants this. What can you do to figure that out now? How can you build on this growth that you've had just from this one video. He's not the kind of person that will tell you what to do. He's going to ask you the right questions so you know how to do it for yourself, And so I figured out, I was like, a lot of people were like, oh, so you're just going to make videos about mobile homes? So you're like a mobile home? I don't get it. Like, what are you doing? And then I really confused everybody. And they were like, how come you're doing a video about tiny homes? Like you don't sell tiny homes, you sell houses. What are you doing? And then I did it about modular homes. Then I did it about affordable homes. Then so it was building on the success of one video, figuring out who that audience was that was watching that one video, studying the hell out of them, and figuring out why it was they watched this video and then they watched this video, but they didn't watch the next one. Why? And I'm constantly looking in that comment section to figure out who that person is, so I know the next video to make. It's a study, you're studying them. So it can be overwhelming. A lot of people will say, well, this is too much work, but the reward is so big. I work with real estate agents now. I have a lot of students. And when they hit that moment of virality and they say to me, I don't know what to do. I have so many leads coming in. I didn't know it could be like this. I know you said it could, but you never really anticipate it until it actually happens to you, and it's like you're excited, but you're overwhelmed because you just didn't expect something like that to happen.
Well, and I think I would rather hear that of people being like, oh, I like obviously wanted this to go well, but didn't expect to get this many leads, than the people that are trying to make viral content, right? Because I think there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, I'm going to go do YouTube, or I'm going to go do TikTok, or I'm going to go do XYZ. And I want to make viral content, right? Like, I think it's when you're making the content for your audience that truly resonates with them. That's when it does end up going viral. And Tim's making a face. So I think he might disagree with me, but
no, I don't disagree at all. What I thought was interesting about what you just said was how other agents were saying, like, why are you making content on tiny homes? You don't sell tiny homes. And I think too many times our agents get so caught up on what they want people to consume. You know what I mean? They're like, I just want somebody to call me to buy a house. And especially when you're starting this channel and you're starting to get some traction, and you have to focus on what does the audience want. And so you hit this niche that there's just a massive amount of people that are interested in, and you just focused on what the audience wanted, not necessarily what you wanted. And I think that's so many of the times what our agents miss is they're so caught up in what they want their end result to be, which, obviously you have to keep into account why you're building a YouTube channel. But you have to focus on what is your audience engaging with and what do they want? And if you focus on that, you get what you want.
Well, I think we're in a sales mode, right? So all the training that we have been given is like, prove your value, show who you are, show how you could be valuable to the customer. And, this is how they become clients for a lifetime, because you have to prove your value. I hear that, see it all the time. But if you really want to know the honest answer to this is they don't give two flying flips who you are. They don't. It's what can you do for them? So when you focus all your content about, hey, I'm the number one sales agent. This is how many closings I had. This is, my GCI or ROI, blah, 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 blah. You sound like a dingleberry. Like, what is it that you have done that can help that person? Like, show them what you do. Don't talk about you. Nobody cares who you are. When you post your sales awards and how many sales that you've had, this is the only profession in the planet that talks about their paycheck every time they close a house. The doctor isn't saying, yep, saved another life today. Look at this happy family because this guy didn't die. But we sure poop do it when, we sell a house. Look at this happy family. We look terrible. We look terrible and desperate, because we're trying to prove ourselves to an audience. Stop doing that. Show them what it is you can do for them without talking about how wonderful you are. Sorry.
Well, I also love the way I'm here for it. I also love the way that you said that Daryl is really good at asking you the questions that makes you think about the problem in the way that helps you solve it, so you understand
it. Did that make you feel good because you do that?
Yeah, I do. Katie gives me a hard time. Like I do that all the time. I don't actually tell people anything. I just keep asking them the questions that hopefully makes the light bulb go off.
Some people can't get it. Let's be honest. Some people are like, I don't understand the question, and you're like,
Tim does it to me, and I'm like, don't Phil Jones me. Don't like let's just get to the point here. Don't ask me what my experience has been or how I feel about like just fucking let's get to it. So,
but okay, so I will get to it, and that is. We talk about audience all the time, and maybe we overkill it talking about know your audience, make content for your audience. I want to know, like, how do you think about your audience, and how do you focus in on making sure you're making the right content for them?
So I do read the comments a lot, and people, whenever you're reading your comments, you kind of get a understanding of a common theme within those comments. That you. Especially about affordability, because everybody has this problem now. It wasn't in people's minds. It wasn't an issue back in 2019. Like they were like, oh, homes are still affordable. Interest rates aren't that bad. There's plenty of supply out there. But I could see the writing on the wall, and I'm like, we don't have enough homes here in the United States. And I started talking about that, and there were a lot of people like, it's really hard to find a house here that's under X amount of dollars, right? So then I'm like, well, maybe I'm like, places you can buy a house for under, $200K, right? So that I do a video about that. And sure enough, it starts taking off because I read the comments, and you follow those common themes. And then you start looking on YouTube to see if anybody else has done something like that. By the way, stop looking at real estate agents for your inspiration. Look at other YouTube content creators that are much better at this than us as real estate agents. They've been doing this longer. So start studying those channels instead of looking at other real estate agents, and like really kind of tune into their wants and needs and their frustrations. And that's how you kind of hone in on who your audience is. And the test is the content you make. If it resonates with them, you miss the mark somewhere. If it doesn't do well, why? So.
Well, one piece is I love when, one of my agents puts up a video or something and they look for anything else but the video. They're like, oh, maybe I did my tags wrong, or maybe I did the, description wrong, or maybe I need to use more stuff, instead of make a better thumbnail and title and make a better video. Like those are the, the things that we should hammer on, but we look for any other excuse other than those things.
Well, I will say this though, because like in your brain, you're thinking, how can that stupid little picture make such a big difference? Like, and you're thinking, I don't really pay attention to it. Yes, you do. You don't even realize how much you pay attention to it. Like that whole saying, you're like, don't judge a book by its cover. We all do it. Every single person, you pick up that magazine because, the queen has like a booger hanging out of her nose, like those kinds of things. People do that. And so that's how you have to kind of look at your thumbnails. And when I was criticized the very first time by a YouTube coach named Nick Nimmin on one of his live streams, I'm like, he doesn't understand real estate. You can't do those kind of YouTube faces on a real estate video. People won't take you seriously. Like I always thought I was so like high and mighty and knew more than this man who's been doing it for years, and boy, was I wrong. You have to really understand what YouTube wants from you today, because the audience is watching YouTube all the time. So they're trained to want to click on certain things. So what is that? You have to figure that out. I didn't realize how important that stupid image was. And I want to put a big giant warning to every real estate agent out there. They're like, oh, I don't know, I'll just go ahead and hire this company, to make my thumbnails for me. Oh, they look great. Look how crisp they are, and they're literal garbage, because they're nothing about them that makes them say, hey, you know what? I want to click on it. There's nothing exciting about them. That picture on the front of your videos is the window into the video itself. It should entice them enough to want to click on it. And people do not spend enough time really thinking about the thumbnail and that title. They make the longest keyword stuffed title on the planet. Like they will say, buying a home in Orlando, Florida, 5 things you need to know about moving to Orlando, Florida / Kissimmee, Florida, Orlando. Like, what kind of freaking, if you saw that on a newspaper, if you saw that on a book, you would walk right past it. There's nothing interesting about it. But in their brains, because somebody told them, well, if you put all these keywords in there and, you make all these things and it's going to give it some more SEO juice, hogwash. The algorithm is people, and people are not going to click on that ridiculously long, uninteresting title and thumbnail. So sorry. Sorry, Grant.
Stay on that soapbox. We're gonna keep it going. You mentioned that agents should look outside of real estate. My worry when agents hear that is I may pop up and see that somebody did 5 real estate agents in this red circle, and the first one that steps out of it gets 10 grand or something. Like they will literally copy the same ideas. When you say that, the way that I've seen people be successful is going outside and seeing what thumbnails, what titles people are doing, like what concepts are they doing, and how can you bring that back in a way that resonates with your audience that you're trying to reach. And the way people take topics and make them intriguing through the thumbnail and the title is what agents should be looking at from outside. Is that kind of how you would do it when you look outside the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, I'm paying attention to how are they getting people at that first 30 seconds of that video? Like, what is it that made it so interesting that this video took off? I'm paying attention to are they doing lots of camera angles? Are they doing lots of B-roll? Are they not doing a lot of B-roll? The culture of YouTube changes all the time. I used to put a B-roll image or something within every 5 to 10 seconds all the time. Like there had to be something that was moving along that YouTube video all the time. I have scaled that back considerably because again, I'm watching my audience. I'm watching what they are or where they're leaving on the video. I'm paying attention to it all. I mean, not everybody's going to be into it as much as I am. And even for myself recently, I don't put as much time into it as I want to because I'm working on the success of other people. So all that extra time that I had to pay attention to those things, I'm giving it to them. So there is so much benefit for just paying attention. And I see so many agents copy paste, and then they wonder why it isn't working anymore because you haven't even identified who it is you're making content for. You just know that Tim, is making this content and it got him success. So you're going to do the same thing. And there's something to be said for that, but you need to figure out who's watching your stuff and you need to not copy Tim. You need to take your own spin on the same idea. And that's how people say rip off and duplicate. There's more to it than that. You have to be your own person. But I also want to warn people of this. People will get their panties all in a bunch because of the fact that they think somebody stole my thumbnail and title and my content. I mean, my God, if I got upset about that right now, I mean, I would be constantly ticked off. This is a world where, there's no original ideas, not even from me. And if somebody takes your thumbnail, your title, and your content idea, and matter of fact, they use the same 5 points that you've made, they are a completely different person. And the audience may not identify with them and may identify with you more. But if they rip off your thumbnail title and they get more views than you do, that's a learning lesson to you. What was it about their video that made it more successful after they ripped you off?
Yeah.
Figure that out. Stop being a baby. Stop getting your feelings hurt because they stole your idea. Who freaking cares? This world is humongous. And if you are in that scarcity mindset that you think that you own this title and thumbnail, stop it. Grow up. It's not about that. Figure out why it was their video was 10 times more successful. You did something wrong.
I love it. I got one more thing before Katie takes over the rest of this interview. We've been hammering away at thumbnail and title, make it, CTR, make it click through and all the other fun stuff. One thing that I've noticed on YouTube is how much you get the, the pre-play. So when I'm scrolling through YouTube, like the video starts playing before I even click on it. And so is that something you're seeing people put more of an emphasis on? Like now, not only is the first 5-10 seconds of the video important as a hook, but it's also kind of part of the thumbnail now for a lot of platforms.
Right. So I would say yes, but you got to remember we're making content on real estate, right? So, what those first, 3 to 10 seconds of a Mr. Beast video is going to be somebody falling into a pool or something like that. It's not like what we're doing on in real estate. So I would, I would want people, the majority of the people, I would say 99% of the people that would be watching this podcast to more focus on making a good thumbnail and title and excellent content than hyper focusing on those first, 5 seconds of that video. Relax, work on that first, build that up first before you start nitpicking all these little things on top of it.
Yeah, I love to complicate things way early in the game. That's my aspect.
Yeah, because and then that's ridiculous. This was the same thing that people used to do, and I was guilty of it. Is this the SEO thing, right? So people would say, "Oh, you got to download keywords everywhere. You got to get TubeBuddy. You got to get vidIQ. You got to get Morning Fame, and get all these downloaded. You got to make sure that the scores are all lined up, and then you film a video." No, no, that's YouTube has not worked that way since 2007. And people say, well, I really want to get in search. There's so much more to be found beyond search. It's a great way to start your YouTube channel, but you need to think the bigger picture. And that's where, like you said earlier, real estate agents have tunnel vision. And so they're like, well, I just want YouTube leads. And I get that. But there's so much more to it that you can make a lot more money outside of just selling a house. You can, the income, the monetization ability that you have is infinite. And so if you only think, well, I just want to sell houses, you are leaving so much money on the table. And this is so funny. This is a Tim story. Years ago when he had that RETB group going like hotcakes, he had said to somebody, don't turn on monetization. Your competitors can, start using ads on your video.
That was the Jeremy Blanton thing. Yeah.
But you said, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. I'm like, oh my God.
for monetization on ads. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that was wrong because even with my tiny channel that was only making I had like 1,000 or maybe 1,500 views at that time, it was $550 a month. I mean, that's a car payment and some groceries.
And it was a good example of overthinking it, because how many people actually had their competitors running ads against them on their channels? Like nobody. Yeah.
And not only that, those ads that most real estate agents do, what do most people do when they see an ad come up on their screen when they're watching a video? Click, skip. And then if they don't have that skip feature, right, they have to watch the 20 or 30-second ad. What are they doing? At that time, they're picking up their phone and playing Candy Crush. They're not paying attention. So stop it. Turn on the monetization. It will not throttle it will not pull back your videos. YouTube wants you to make good content. They want you to get a ton of views because that means they can sell more ads, so don't think of that.
Even our Roland and Matt are making a couple $1,000 on TikTok monetization.
Yeah,
the monetization side of things is one we don't really talk about too much.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people think. They're like, oh, well, I if I turn them on, that means I'm going to get less people watching because they have to watch a commercial. I mean, they're so in tune to watching commercials. We have been bred from the moment that we have entered this earth that commercials are a part of life. They're annoying. They're trying to sell you something. We have to pay attention to them and we skip them. When we had DVRs, we just fast forward through them. But those people still paid to have that ad put there. You might as well make the money off of it anyway. Turn on the ads.
Love it.
So what are the things that you're seeing now as far as trends? So one of them you said is you're doing even less B-roll and it's less flashy, right?
Right.
Content, right? And so as we know, things change, right? As far as what viewers want and what is kind of trendy. And I hate to use that word, but trendy on YouTube. So what are the things that you're seeing as far as things that should be adopted these days on YouTube?
Well, let's just talk about thumbnails first. So with your thumbnails, though, the face in the thumbnail needs to be literally humongous. Like the top of your head needs to hit the top of the thumbnail, and your chin needs to hit the bottom of that thumbnail. So like they can see into your pores, right?
For those of you that are only listening and not watching, she just leaned in very, very close to the camera. So
yeah, I'm a visual person. Yeah. So like you really want to fill your face almost half, like 1/3 of that screen should be your complete noggin, like that. It is still there. The one of the things that like a lot of real estate agents still do to this day is that white outline stroke around your face. Stop doing those. That has not been a thing for at least 4 years now. Stop. Like really stop doing that.
That's when I was doing YouTube content. So yeah, when I restart my new channel in January, I will not put a white outline. So thank you. That's good. Good to know.
Yeah. I think people are putting too many words on their thumbnail. It should be 1 or 2 words. I used to say 5 words, and that was acceptable. But 1 or 2 words are 10 times better than, like you're writing a whole title on the thumbnail. Stop doing that. Stop using red font. Like, stop. Do not do red font. That is the worst thing you can do. And the last thing is AI images. You use them sparingly. Your thumbnail, the whole entire thumbnail should not be a freaking AI image. Like really think about those thumbnails. Don't be lazy. And that's what a lot of people, they'll do these AI images and they blow me away. Like that is not the easy button to get your content on YouTube.
So
it's a tool.
The idea of like the AI image being the background, right?
Right.
And then you're adding in maybe some other photos or other things that are of your city or town or the modular home or whatever it may be, and a word or two, and that's the thumbnail. Is that thumbs up, thumbs down?
Right. But you have to think like this is one of those things, like not all audiences on all real estate content are going to be accepting of that. Because I know that people that have a younger audience, they're like, as soon as I see an AI image, that's it. I'm scrolling past it. Stop using AI imagery. You can tell that's AI. They're actually physically repelled to that. So be sensitive to that when you're reading your comments. Don't get your feelings hurt because you were lazy anyway when you made that AI image to begin with. So, like pay attention. I know it's really easy and you think it's really cool and your AI or your, video editor said, oh yeah, people are doing it. It may be doing it on other niches within YouTube, but it may not work for your specific audience.
And not just that, I think 6 months ago or 9 months ago, when agents started doing some AI stuff in the background, creators started using AI images in the background, like it was new. And so it got clicks because people hadn't seen it before. It looked a little bit different. But when they were talking about, oh my goodness, my AI thumbnail got, 18% CTR and this is great. Like, okay, right now it's great, but don't assume for the next year or two, you can do AI thumbnails and they're just going to work for you. Always keeping an eye on what
they're not working. See that right now, they're not working anymore.
They're no longer working as well as they did when they were the new thing. But what I see a lot of content creators that I follow do, at least I think this is what they do, is like the thumbnail catches people's eye and gets them curious enough to read the title. And then if I get curious with the thumbnail and the title gives me what I want, then I click on the video. And it's those two things together that get me to click, where I think people look at them as separate things, like, ooh, what's a good title? What's a good thumbnail? Instead of thinking about it, what's a good thumbnail and title, that put together that recipe that gets me clicks.
Well, the lesson I learned from Daryl Eves is that if you can't pull together a good thumbnail and a good title, or you have a good title, but the thumbnail, you can't come together where it looks really good, don't even make the video. Like you're wasting your time, because if you can't come up with a good thumbnail and title, there's no reason for you to film the video in the first place. No one will click on it. You're spinning your wheels.
Important note, you're coming up with a thumbnail and the title before you make the video.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I get messages from people and they're like, hey, I filmed this video. What do you think would be a good title? I'm like, I don't know. I get so annoyed. Like, I don't know. I haven't seen your video. I don't know your audience. Like, I can't tell you what to do. You should be studying that ahead of time. But you should be like, I will work on that thumbnail. That's what I do at night. When everybody else is like sitting there watching their television shows. Yeah, the TV's on, but I'm sitting there making these thumbnails. I'm trying to make them super crisp. I'm doing those drop shadows. I'm like really studying other thumbnails and what the trends are in YouTube currently for thumbnails. Like that, of all the things to do on YouTube, that is my number one favorite. I love making a thumbnail. I love making them. They're fun. They are fun to me. I love using, if I'm going to use a word, I want it to be one big power word that makes people like it invokes a reaction. A video I did recently, it didn't do so hot because it was the day of the election, by the way, but the word just said slums across the top. I mean, talk about somebody giving a reaction. Normally, I think it would have done a lot better, but slum. Everybody knows what a slum is. Like, why would she say that? So think about it that way. Marketing products, they don't use a whole sentence to market that product. They use one word that sticks in your head. Wow. Yeah. Better flavor, they use those types of things. Just make it simple. Stop over.
And a lot of great thumbnails have no words on them.
The best thumbnails have no words on them. If you can convey everything you want and make it super engaging and not have to use any words, I always say you've won the thumbnail game right there.
I have a few different directions in which I want to go right now. So one of the ones that I have, or one of the questions that I have, you mentioned it earlier, and I thought it was too early to kind of segue into that topic. But one of the things that you said a lot of people do is they reach out to you and they're like, oh my God, like these videos have now taken off and I'm getting an influx of leads and I don't know how to service them all. What advice do you give them as far as figuring out like how serious people are and, dealing with an influx of leads?
Well, the difference between leads you get from the internet or ads, YouTube leads are serious. So you should always treat them that way. Very rarely do I get people that are just, well, I was kind of thinking about it. Even if they say they're kind of thinking about it, they're still going to buy from you. So you should treat them on the top of your list. Secondly of all, I learned over time because I love tech. I love tech. And so I had a super complicated website with lots of stupid pop-ups and all these different things they could do while they were on my website. When I stripped that all back, stopped using all these fancy things, and just made a form for them to fill out for what they want from me. I think it has like 5 questions on there. What's your name? What's your last name? What's your address? Not even your address. What's your email address? What's your phone number? And do you want to buy or sell? I made it so incredibly simple that I could put it in a CRM instantly without, all this other detail. Then when you call them on the phone, they're very, very, very grateful that you called them on the phone because they think you're really busy because of YouTube content that they see. They think that you're constantly on television because they just see all this old backlog of videos. They're like, you must be a machine. I'm like, I only do once a week, but they stop being fancy. Stop being fancy with your thumbnails. Stop trying to be, game the system with these long, ridiculous titles. Stop being fancy with your websites. I don't even really like those Calendly links because they ask you too many questions. Like, click here, find a spot here. Stop doing that. People don't want extra steps. Make it as simple and easy for them as possible, and then you will get more people. But also have those systems ahead of time because you never know when that moment that it takes off like a rocket. So set up that website ahead of time. Make sure you have those landing pages that are simple. Have a good CRM that you can automatically feed, that as soon as they sign in, that it automatically sends them an email. Thank you so much for logging into my website. And you know where it's coming from because it's coming from YouTube, that you're following up with those CRMs. I will tell you this. I'm so guilty of the fact that I will get a lead that comes in on Sunday, but I've went out of town for a conference and I'm not answering leads when I'm out of town for a conference or I'm at a speaking engagement. I'm not doing that, but my CRM answered them first. And when I do call them and it's been like, 10 days, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I've been out of town. Oh, I know that you're so busy. That's fine. I'm so glad you called me. I thought I would get an assistant first. That's the kind of clientele you want to work with. It's people that realize you're a human being and have, that you're not just sitting there at the phone, like begging for their business. Simplify. That's what I tell you. Simplify your systems first, get them done first. So that way, when you have that viral moment, you're more than prepared to handle it.
I love it. What is the name of your channel's avatar?
Frank.
Can you tell me about Frank? Like I'm always infatuated with Frank. And
well,
I always, for some reason, when I talk about this example, I always say Carl. But yeah, Frank. It's good to know I've been messing up the name.
Yeah, now we know. Yeah.
Right. You know what's so interesting about that? So if you heard, I spoke at Vid Summit.
I remember.
Yeah, in 2021 or 2022. I can't remember. Anyways, I got to talk about my avatar. And if you heard me talk about that avatar, I talked about how he was, a blue collar kind of guy. He didn't, save money for the future. He's kind of in a desperate situation. He wants to own his own home. He may have never owned a home. I said how conservative he was. I mean, I talked about Frank in a completely different way if you were to hear me talk about him today, because just because you understand who your avatar is at that time, your avatar is also changing as well. It's kind of like absolutely. He's always changing. He's evolving, right? Think about like there's a moment in time that you're like really into making sourdough bread, but then you're not so much into sourdough bread. How do you reel that back in? Following what Frank wants and what he's really interested in. At one time, my Frank was really into do it yourself. Maybe I can build this house myself kind of thing. I don't need any help. I have some good tools. I can make my own, house, those kinds of videos I made then, but that's not where Frank is today. Frank, was super, super mega conservative, right? Like super conservative. Frank isn't so much anymore. He's changed a bit since then. He's more central, and so you're going where the avatar is. So you have to be empathetic to where they are at that point in their life. So make content for that person at that point.
Well, the reason why I just really love that talk you gave and the way that you frame it is that so many times our people are looking and they're like, man, how do I make this piece of content that, all these people will like? What's going to be engaging to all these people? And instead, you've narrowed it down to one person that is the combination of everybody that's in your audience. And it's way easier to make videos for Frank than it is to make videos for how many subscribers do you have?
I don't even know. It's over 300,000.
So over 300,000. I think it's close to 4. So over almost 400,000 people. Like if Kristina wakes up in the morning and says, I've got to make a video for 400,000 people. Like that's a tough challenge. But when she really understands that most of her audience is Frank and this is the person I'm making the video for, it becomes a lot easier and probably a lot more effective.
I want to say one thing, because you were talking about like the amount of subscribers I have, blah, blah, blah. All of us need to understand when we're making content on YouTube for real estate, people are watching that content for the period of time that they need it. So if they're in the market to buy or sell or whatever it is, they're only watching it until they buy and sell a house. Very rarely are they going to watch you for years and years and years. Of course, that's going to be your core audience that just happens to absolutely love you. Most people are there for the time that they need it. And that's the, where people like they see, oh, you have so many subscribers. How come you don't get 8,000 views on each one of your videos? Well, because the person that watched me back in 2019 has bought and sold a house already, and he doesn't need me anymore. That Frank has gone. Now I have new Frank. Yeah. He loves me still. He doesn't need me as much as he used to.
I love it. Katie, final question. What do you want to wrap this up with?
I had texted you that you were going to do that. So you really just kind of threw me for a curveball there, Tim.
It's like Zoom calls where, you have the side text going on to your whatever people are talking about. And Katie and I have the side text for who's going to ask the next question. And all that.
And so I said, okay, you're good doing what you're doing. Wrap it up. And then you say, okay, ask another question.
I know how I want this to wrap. I will say this, Kristina. One, we don't sell anything on here. We don't really push people's stuff. And honestly, whenever people come on here or not come on here, whenever people are out there, they get a little bit of success in YouTube, they generate a couple leads, they try to go sell a course. And I'm just so leery of people signing up for courses in general, because it's usually way over promise, under deliver. I will say you have done this for years before you ever thought about selling a course. And so I want to end by just getting a little bit of a pitch on your course, because I really like what you're doing. And it's one of the few that I kind of put the REVB stamp of approval on.
Oh,
well, I appreciate that. So, I, like you said, I've been doing this for years. I would never have sold a course until I knew for a fact that it would work. And matter of fact, when I did this, I originally had done it with a bunch of beta testers before I ever even put it on the open market. And I have proof. It's not, screenshots of random agents. I can give you every name of every agent that's on YouTube. Most likely you already know who they are. If they've gone viral in the last year and they're a real estate agent, it's probably because I did it, but it isn't that I personally told them what to do. It's just like what Daryl Eves told me what to do, is that I asked them the right questions so they could figure out how to do it themselves. And this course that I created is specifically tailored towards real estate agents. It's Daryl Eves' course, the Channel Jumpstart course, and I always say it's the Diet Coke version, and it's specifically tailored for real estate agents. Daryl gave me the permission to be able to repackage what he had done, but of course it's not at the level of Daryl's, not even close.
Yeah, you got to.
I took it down to bite-sized, easy to digest pieces, because he's up here. Most of us are down here.
But you got to tell us, what do we do? Do we DM you on Instagram? Where do we? How do we connect?
I don't go on Instagram. I'm the last person. I'm not Instagram. No, I would love for anybody that is interested to go to realestatevideogeeks.com. We're also on YouTube as Real Estate Video Geeks. We do live streams every week specifically about YouTube and YouTube content. If you want to even get a free channel review there, we do that every Thursday. You're more than welcome to join the live stream, share your channel, and we can do a little channel review, talk about your thumbnails, titles, those kinds of things. And then me and my business partner, Joe Eves, sound familiar? Daryl's brother. We are the ones who have organized this course. So realestatevideogeeks.com.
Love it. Kristina, thanks for hopping on. We always appreciate your time. And we can't wait to see what you do next.
All right. Thank you so much.